I'm gonna read as many books about witches as I possibly can in this vlog.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
Ooh, witches and stonings.
Witch! Witch! Witch!
Never ever let a mortal know that you're a witch.
I'm a witch!
Oh, look. Another glorious morning.
So I think the move is to lean in and continue to disassociate and exist in a healthy amount of denial. I'm just gonna revert back to October. Just a week of pretending that it's still October, that I'm still the me I was before Halloween. I've already seen the internet start to turn over for the holiday season and I'm not ready. I'm just not ready. I'm feeling like this year it's going to happen just a little later for me, and that's okay. Right now, I just want to read books about witches. Oh hey, hi. I started filming this video in the first week of November. It's now very much not November. So what happened? A little bit of burnout, a little bit of creative overwhelm, and there may or may not have been some like existential spiraling in that time. We don't need to get into it, you and I, we've both been in the trenches together. But I've just been so hungry to make cozy little videos and yap about books. And I just haven't known how to like pick it back up. So I decided to go back to the earliest draft in my library of unfinished projects. And it's this video that you're watching right now. Congratulations, you're here. Thank you so much. Welcome to the long lost witchy vlog. If you're in a little bit of a magical mood this April, then grab your broomstick because we are back. For the next 20 minutes or so, enjoy a little time capsule of me back in the fall with slightly shorter hair. I read some witchy books with big feelings, and I'm finally here to finish it off 7 months later. The current version of me will pop back in at the end with a little bit of a roundup and some reflections, because honestly, I still think about these books. They were all hits. So with all that being said, let's get witchy. I missed my annual required watch of Practical Magic, so I'm gonna make good on that. I'm going to commit to very few things socially and just be cozy. Leave the bats on my walls. I'm gonna keep burning my fall scented candles, and I'm gonna read some witchy books. So I went to my TBR stack, and these are all the books I could find that were explicitly about witches, and I will not be able to get to all of these. It's not possible. I'm just gonna read along and see where it takes me. So I'll show you the books that I have to choose from, and I will make no promises as to which ones I'm going to get to. Starting off easy, I have a graphic novel called Spell on Wheels. This is a witchy graphic novel that follows 3 witches on a road trip. I think there's a revenge arc in here, and I think that's a very crucial component of most witchy novels. And I think the art just looks super cute, and this looks like a really fun, short little story to knock out in a single sitting. We've also got The Once and Future Witches by Alix E. Harrow. I loved The 10,000 Doors of January by the same author, and when I recommend that one, people unanimously respond by recommending this one. So it's chunky. It takes place in New Salem in the 1800s, and I'm just hoping for gothic vibes and complex sister dynamics. I've also got Nettle and Bone by Kingfisher. I really wanted to get to this in my last reading vlog, and I just had to reprioritize based on deadlines of book clubs, and I'm really bummed that I didn't get to this in October. So it's pretend October, and I'm gonna get to this. I have not read the back of this book, and I'm only assuming that it has witches based on the title. Oh, I guess I'll read the back. Okay, there it is. If the third-born daughter can complete 3 impossible tasks, a witch will grant her all the tools she needs. Witch identified in the blurb. I also have a copy of A Dark and Secret Magic by Wallis, Kinney. This is a brand new release that has been described and marketed as cozy. It's been compared to Practical Magic and Witch of Wild Things, and I love all of those things, so sign me up. There's pumpkins on the cover. The main character has a black cat familiar. I can't think of a book that fits the bill of pretending that it's still October more than any other book. In what seems like it should contain the complete opposite vibes, we've got Slewfoot by Brom. I've often heard this one described as very much a good for her novel, where the female main character unleashes a lot of very cathartic wrath. So I'm counting on this one for a dose of witchy feminine rage. if it comes to that. I've also been dying to get to someone you can build a nest in. I'm assuming this is witchy because she has a witch hat, but I don't really know. All I know is that I really want to get to this fall, and maybe this is the right time to do it. I'm just counting on this to provide vibes. Surprisingly sweet, unsurprisingly horrific, and entirely humane. I think she's described more of a monster, but again, she's just giving the vibes that she needs to give, and I just need an excuse to read this, okay? Okay. Lastly, I've got Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen, and this one is giving spring vibes. But that's okay. I'm still putting her in this list because I've had this on my shelf for a couple of years and it looks like it is so gorgeous and wholesome and beautiful. Apparently I paid $4.50 for it, and I just get the sense that it's going to be magical and enchanting and cozy and wholesome, and I need that in my life, and I love anything witchy with complex sister dynamics. As an only child, I'm obsessed with reading about siblings, and who knows, maybe this one will transport me exactly where I need it to. I surely have other witchy books on my TBR, but these are the ones that just jumped out at me and kind of fit the bill. And if I get to half of these, I'll be happy. I think I'm gonna knock out the longest one first, and I'm gonna pick up the Once and Future Witches. Also, we love a deckled edge. I can't promise I will do anything exciting or that my life will be remotely interesting while I read these, and I have no idea for how long I want to pretend that it is still October. But I'm feeling puzzles, I'm feeling candles, I'm feeling baking, I'm feeling numb. So let's go and let's pretend that it's October for just a little longer. Jump scare to my face without makeup. I guess we're on that level now. Feel naked without mascara, but here we are. Just wanted to give you an update because I haven't checked in to tell you that I am loving this. I'm maybe 75% of the way in, and it is scratching the itch that I set out to itch. This follows three sisters in the 1890s, before women have the right to vote. There's a lot of suffragettes and campaigning for women's rights in this book that I did not anticipate would be a big theme, but in fact it is, and I love it. I already knew I liked this author's writing because I really loved 10,000 Doors of January. I thought the prose was so gorgeous, and it too was a beautiful fantasy story that was also really gritty, like some gritty, dark themes and a lot of female rage. Also, the like nuance of what being a woman really means. It's both heavy-handed in a satisfying way, but also there's a lot of nuance in here about the many different facets of being a woman, like how there is power in softness and in motherhood, and conflating the concept of being a woman with being a witch is always really interesting and fun to dive into. This takes place in New Salem, which is very divided in that there's people that are terrified of magic, and that is a pretty big theme for the political unrest within the city. And at the same time, there's also a big movement for women to be able to vote. So there's big political tension as the underpinning of the story. And that makes it particularly interesting because when it comes to the political future, women don't have a voice at the ballot. So there's a lot about voting in this book, which is ironic. And I think the magic in this is really lovely. There's like everyday household magic that is fairly known and somewhat accepted. In order to be able to access witchcraft, the women in this book have to be able to access the words, the will, and the way. And I think that's a really fun and interesting way for them to like spell cast. Kind of cool. One thing that's really fun is there's little spells at the beginning of every chapter, and they're super short and just like delightful little teasers, little poems. I don't know, I'm really enjoying this. We follow 3 sisters who are all completely different. They all have a ton of tension and a dark backstory, but they're all so unique. I think that they're all pretty fleshed out, and we are spending uneven amounts of time with different ones, so I'm definitely connecting more with certain sisters than other sisters, and yeah, I'm really loving this. And yet again, I find myself reading another book that makes me wish I had sisters. So that's fun. I've been reading this book with my eyes and also listening to this book, and both are excellent. I really like the audiobook narrator. She's phenomenal, but I also have been really enjoying the like fast chapters and the beautiful prose, like in dark in the bed at night. So I'm gonna listen to this while I update my junk journal. I'm like 2 weeks behind on entries, and I've just been like saving junk for 2 weeks. So I have to take all of this junk and put it into this. So I think that is the perfect audiobook activity. Wish me luck. Update, I finished it and I caught up on my junk journal pages, so that's exciting. And I love this. I love how it ended. I need to process my thoughts before I can like formulate an actual review, but I really love that. I've read so many books lately that I thought had like pacing issues, and I have to say maybe it was me, because this had moments where the story just sort of breathed, and then you hit like the 2/3 mark and then it's just like whew, off to the races. I can tell I'm really hooked by a book because I can tell I really want to savor it, but also like I can't stop. I can't stop thinking about it. I want to pick it up. I want to get back into it. I loved it. It was so good. Okay, I'm gonna sleep on it. I'm gonna process it. I'm gonna check in with you, and I will pick a next book and I will start it after I make us some dinner. I'm feeling like autumnal harvest salad vibes tonight, so I don't know if anyone else chooses books this way, but sometimes when I don't know what I want to read next, I'll grab a few books, I'll shop my library, I'll grab a few books, I'll take them over to the couch or the bed, and I'll read the first chapter, the first page, first couple paragraphs of every single one of them and see which one kind of grabs me. So we're gonna do that right now. Then we're gonna cook dinner. Otherwise, I'm gonna be thinking about this the whole time. made it to about the last 60 pages in Slewfoot last night, and I had to stop. I could tell that it was about to fully go on its good for you girl arc. Also, I will say it's Thanksgiving week, and nothing says Thanksgiving quite like puritanical 1600s witch horror. Everyone said this was a good spooky season read, but I think this is a good Thanksgiving book read. So I'm gonna finish the last 60 pages, and I just know it's about to cook. Overall, I really enjoyed this. There are a couple of small things. Like, I know that the author had an indigenous sensitivity reader, but there were parts of it that I was like a little uncomfortable with the portrayals, but maybe I have an ignorant perspective. So you have two things that are happening at the same time. You have Abatha, who's trying to settle into her life in colonial New England. She unfortunately has the affliction of being a woman, meaning that she cannot, own her own land. In this pious, patriarchal, puritanical, colonial settlement, there are male forces that are trying to take her land. So she is trying to do whatever she can as a widowed outcast to keep her life as it is, understandably. So meanwhile, deep in the forest, there's this creature waking up, and we are not sure, as is the creature, of what it is. Is it a fairy? Is it a demon? Is it some woodland spirit? I don't know. We don't know. He's got names like Father and Protector and also Slayer. And eventually we come to know him as Slewfoot. So simultaneously we've got Slewfoot, who's sort of waking up to his purpose. And then you've got Abatha, who is desperately trying to cling on to any independence of a life that she can have. So in this sort of pagan deity and Abatha combined forces, the book unfurls, and it is very immersive. It's very haunting and gothic. It is tense the entire time. You are seeing the consequences of what could go wrong at any point hanging in the balance, and it's exceptional. When I set out to read witchy books, this is exactly what I had in mind. It cooks, and again, I have 60 pages left, and I can tell that there's going to be a very cathartic next 60 pages. So I think I can get one more book in before Thanksgiving, and I think it's gonna be Nettle and Bone. It's only 3 books, but not too bad. I think this has scratched my itch, and I can finally take down Halloween decorations. So when it's all said and done, I think I will have read 3 novels and 2 graphic novels for this vlog. Not bad. I had a couple of other books in the middle there too that you didn't get to see. We watched Practical Magic, we watched Agatha All Along, we watched Wicked and The Wizard of Oz. I think it's been a pretty good witch season. I support women's rights and women's wrongs. Horror girlies, you were right about this one. I have a lot to process now. You made it back to the present. Congratulations. This is about where I stopped filming. I think I got in a car and drove to Texas for Thanksgiving. I brought my camera with me. I brought this book with me. I just stopped filming and I finished the book and I really liked it. And that's about where I petered out. So if you're still watching, thank you so much for hanging out with me across literal seasons. That's so fun. I really appreciate you. So let me wrap this up with some of the thoughts that I have from all of the books I read in this video, because honestly, They all slept. 7 months later, these books are lingering like the spell I didn't even know I cast. So here is a proper roundup of everything that I read for this video in November. Let's talk about Once and Future Witches. This is a spellbinding alternative history where witchcraft and magic is woven into the suffragette movement. It follows the estrangement and the reunion of the Eastwood sisters. I even remember their names. It's Juniper, Agnes, and Bella. And they all have to come together through grief and pain and protest. As they try to reclaim the old ways and spark a new revolution, their spells are cast through nursery rhymes, whispered family recipes, inherited domestic rituals. It's very much folklore meets feminism in the best way. One thing that I remember loving so much about this book is the way that it reclaims things that we perceive to be ordinary. Little things like lullabies or sewing patterns or recipes, and it infuses them with this beautiful subversive power. Those sort of details make the magic in this feel real, rooted in everyday whispers between generations of women, which I love. Another thing is this is for the girlies who like lush storytelling. The writing is gorgeous. It's immersive, it's poetic. I will say this is very slow burn, and I do mean slow. If you need like a fast-paced plot, fair warning, that's not what this is. But if you're into language that lingers and characters that you feel in your bones, I think that this book will wreck you in the best way. This is a story of resistance and rebellion and sisterhood and reclaiming power. And it spans class, race, sexuality. I found it to be dazzling, defiant, and deeply emotional. One of the best witchy books that I've ever read. Then I read Slewfoot by Brom, and this was unhinged. In the best way. Slewfoot is part folklore horror, part revenge fantasy, and 100% good for her catharsis. In Slewfoot, we follow Abatha. Oh, Abatha. I love Abatha. Abatha is a headstrong young widow who is just simply trying to survive in a patriarchal, puritanical society who is suspicious of a woman and terrified of anything resembling autonomy. When her path collides with a horned forest spirit, possibly a demon, possibly a god, possibly just misunderstood. Let's just say things get real witchy real fast. I really like how this book leans into the ambiguity. Is Slewfoot a demon? Is Slewfoot a savior? Is Slewfoot something older and wilder than we could imagine? And in this case, does it really matter? What does matter is whether or not Abatha can reclaim her power and burn down all of the structures that are trying to contain her. This is eerie and earthy and violent and very weirdly beautiful. There's this slow burn building sense of dread, but there's also moments of joy and really fun defiance. And there's also a goat guy, and he's iconic. When I was reading this, I kept picturing the vibes of like the chilling adventures of Sabrina.
Witches stepping out of the shadows.
No one else has seen the goat guy.
And I also had Florence and the Machine's Choreomania in a loop in my head.
I'll be your demon daddy.
If you like the idea of witchy horror with a vengeance arc, pick this up at any time of the year. In fact, it's probably relevant now more than ever. Sadly. 10 out of 10. Would frolic naked in the woods, being completely feral. Yeah, I liked it. And alas, the book that I neglected to give you any reactions to while I was reading it, Nettle and Bone. This is a dark fairy tale with a deadly checklist, some very dry humor, and a demon chicken. This book is weird and warm and a little grimy. Honestly, found family and vengeance is one of my favorite combos. There's a pretty dark and sinister underlying message in this book, but it is brimming with heart and humor and courage, and I loved it. In Nettle and Bone, we follow Mara. She is a convent-raised princess who decides to save her sister from an abusive royal marriage. But to do it, she has to complete 3 impossible tasks: gathering a misfit crew that includes a grave witch, a disgraced knight, a fairy godmother with questionable taste, and the real stars of the show, a bone dog and a demon chicken. It's weird, it's cozy, it's a little grotesque, but I think it all works. Think like Howl's Moving Castle meets The Princess Bride, kind of. But make everything a little darker and make the stakes a little higher. The writing in this is accessible and clever, very witty and wry. I particularly love that this blends fairy tale tropes with modern commentary on things like bodily agency. If you like books that feel like stories told around a fire, maybe with a couple of laughs and a couple of ghosts thrown in there, I think you'll love this one. I'll also say that I think you could read any of these at any time of the year. None of them felt particularly Halloween-y, unlike some of the other books that I had on the list, so I guess good that I didn't get to those, because these you could read all year long, in the middle of spring if you wanted. Maybe if you do like to pick your books based on vibes, choose like a dark rainy weekend or save them for autumn. But truly, I think you could read any of these at any time of the year and have a phenomenal reading experience. After all, witches are witching all year long. One thing that I did neglect to show you is that I read Spell on Wheels Volume 1 and 2 in this video. Both of these graphic novels give me Scooby-Doo episode vibes, and I mean that in the highest compliment. It also really reminded me of the TV show from the 90s, Charmed.
Power of 3 will set us free.
Take that with a grain of salt, because I definitely didn't watch very much Charmed. The only bit that I watched was like down the hallway in secret when I was supposed to be in bed, because it came on after my bedtime and was definitely not age appropriate for me at the time, but my mom loved it, so like I had to know what was going on. There were a couple of TV shows that I watched that way. Sorry mom, love you. Anyway, these are fun, they're fast-paced, they center really lovely friendships. I think Volume 1 was stronger plot-wise, but Volume 2 adds some really great emotional depth, and I would absolutely read a third if the universe so blessed us. In Spell on Wheels, we follow 3 witches, Andy, Jolene, and Claire, as they go on a magical road trip to retrieve stolen artifacts from a scorned ex. Along the way, they face curses, ghosts, and emotional baggage in the form of literal hexes. Volume 1 is snappy and stylish, full of action and charm. Volume 2 slows down a little bit and it digs deeper into emotional arcs. There's a really interesting possession subplot. What stands out the most when I think back on these is the vibe. The art is colorful, it's expressive, the friendships are beautiful and real and complicated. The tone balances humor with sincerity. There's diversity, badass one-liners, just enough camp to make it extra fun. If you want something quick, cozy, magical with a touch of chaos, this is for you. It took me forever to finish this, but honestly, I'm really glad I did. I feel like I can actually finish things now. And I'm really glad I came back to this, because every book I read was a win. There were no duds. There were no skips. If you've got more magical, feminist, forest core books, drop them down in the comments below. If there are any books that I considered reading that I didn't get to that you think I should, absolutely let me know. I'm always down for witchy book recs. And if you have ideas for if I should do another themed reading vlog like this again, let me know. Maybe I'll actually do it within the prescripted allotted amount of time. Who knows? Vampires, maybe? I did just watch Sinners, and I feel a thirst coming on. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. If you made it this long in the video, leave me a little broomstick emoji. That will let me know that you're a real witch, and you stuck with me for 7 months, actually. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you soon. Much sooner this time. Until then, stay soft, stay magical, stay weird.